I thought today I'd do a slightly more serious video, so bear with me with this, because most of the Sundays recently I've been doing the Q&As. Before that I was doing lighter videos on Sundays, but this week I haven't really had enough new questions to do a new Q&A, so if you've got a good one, just leave it in a comment and just say it's for the Q&A video, and if it's a good question I'll answer it. Because I had a lot of people who have asked questions, but they've asked things that have already been answered, so they've not bothered watching all the videos. Not that I'd really expect you to, but you know, it's just sort of a bit irritating when you keep getting asked the same questions that you've already answered. So what I thought I'd talk about today is something that I think might be quite interesting for a lot of us out there that sort of do prepping things and stuff like that. And it's, does the news make you anxious and stuff like that, or does the news make you depressed, and is the news bad for you? Now, it might sound a bit weird, but I've been thinking that because of all this 24/7 news stuff, and how the news is just so obsessed with all these negative things that are happening in the world non-stop, maybe that, you know, watching too much news actually does bad things to your head. So what I'm going to try and do myself is sort of detox myself from watching the news, so I'm not going to, you know, if I walk through a room and somebody's got a TV on, that's, you know, tough, I guess, but... you know, I've like unbookmarked all the news websites, I've uninstalled all the apps on my phones that give me headlines, because, to be honest, every time I look at the news it's always something negative, and while it's often could be good, I suppose, to know about stuff so you could prepare for it, potentially, most of the time I think I've never acted on a news story because it doesn't seem relevant, or there's not much you can do, but I think over time it kind of builds up a growing anxiety within you about, you know, how bad the world is, and sort of, are you at risk, are you going to become a victim, are you going to become a crime statistic for something or other, and as well as all those sort of negative things, I think a lot of the news is so fake and untrustworthy anyway that I don't know if I'd actually, you know, it would do me any good listening to it, because like what I used to do would watch several news channels, and I'd look at the same news article on different news channels and see how they put their own spin on it, and then I think, what's the truth, is it somewhere between, or is it completely different? So, what's the point in reading news if it's so totally, you know, wrong and, you know, fake, in a sense? The actual term fake news, I suppose, does apply. That, you know, what's the point in watching it if you're not actually going to get anything from it, and you're only getting the PR spin of whichever company owns the network that the news channel runs on? To me, that seems a bit, you know, counterproductive from the news. I don't think the news is really educational anymore. I think the news is just kind of this sensationalist crap. Which is saying why I don't personally, you know, I think stopping watching the news is a good idea. So yeah, this is what I'm thinking. I'm going to do, you know, a week or two without looking at the news and report back and see how I'm feeling. And another thing with the news is sort of how, if you ever read a newspaper, like I rarely do that because I have no interest in, you know, money and paying for the news, but like you look at the newspapers and all of the stuff in there is sort of either celebrity crap, you know, that nobody actually cares about. Like, well, what has this famous celebrity done now? You know, who cares? And it's all sort of, you know, this massively over-sensationalised stuff. There's also, like, the really, you know, sort of saying, like, the political leanings or whatever of a newspaper or whatever. So you read something that sounds like it's a parody, but it's actually because it's, you know, the completely, like, far off to one side or the other thing. It's like contrast the Daily Mail with the Guardian, you know. Both are like super extreme, either very left or very right papers that, you know, normally get all the facts wrong anyway. So yeah, because I'm sort of thinking I've also become quite desensitised to seeing violence as well, just because on the news non-stop it's all, look at this war somewhere, you know, look at this terrorism somewhere, and then you can go on places like LiveLeak or even on YouTube, you know, and there's actual war footage, and you're like, oh, somebody's getting shot, somebody's getting blown up, oh yeah, I'm sort of used to seeing that now. And I think that's kind of a bad thing, isn't it? You know, most people previously, prior to all the rolling news and that, wouldn't ever see stuff like that unless they are actually in a conflict. So it's, you know, it's a bit weird to think about, really. But yeah, I just generally have had a thought, and I've done a bit of sort of searching on this, and there's actually some medical papers published on this where there does seem to be a lot of evidence that if you're somebody who constantly, you know, watches the news, the more news you watch and the more negative the news is, and the news is normally always negative because that sells, you know, they can keep people watching, you end up sort of being addicted to watching this like really depressing stuff that I think in the end makes you, you know, feel bad. And they were saying, you know, on this study they did, they got a load of people to watch the news and then another group to watch the news. And one group had to do some like relaxing stuff after watching the news, and the others they just told to get on, you know, stuff. And they measured stress levels and things like that. And, you know, everybody came back more stressed than they did beforehand after watching the news. And only the group that got to do the meditation or relaxation or whatever it was actually, you know, calmed down a bit. The other people were still more agitated going into the day. So I suppose they think, when's the next bomb going off somewhere, you know, when's the next truck going to ram people and all this sort of stuff. Not to say that stuff isn't happening, of course it is, but I think some people, you know, and me included, if you end up watching too much about terrorism and other sort of crime stuff on the news and all these diseases and all like, oh, well, this gives you cancer, that gives you cancer, you know, it ends up probably making you more anxious, you know. Going back, you know, before all this new stuff, if you had some random illness, you probably think, oh, you know, that's just an illness, I'll go to the doctor if it gets worse. And now they're always like, oh, you know, this is probably a tumour, that's cancer, that's cancer, that's cancer, that's cancer, you know, it's non-stop, isn't it? So, you know, this is just what I'm wondering, and so I'm going to do it as a thought experiment myself, and I'll let you know in a couple of weeks. I'll get back to you and see how it is. I am going to completely stop watching the news unless I happen to run into it, you know, unavoidedly, and I'm going to see if it makes me feel more cheerful, you know, less anxious about stuff happening, because as I was saying, sometimes I'd see stuff on the news and think, oh no, that's happening, I need to, you know, try and do something to protect myself or protect my family or whatever, you know. So there's always stuff like that, even though, you know, the statistics of you being a victim are probably really low, and if you then take, you know, sensible kind of prepping steps anyway, you're much, much lower to be a victim. But then I think you can see something on the news and think, oh, that hits really close to home, I need to now, you know, overdo it and, you know, spend more money, spend more time, keep worrying about something. So yeah, I'll let you know how I get on. As said, if you can think of some good Q&A questions I haven't answered yet, put them in the comments of this video and just mark it for Q&A video. I did get a good one from Jacob Dagger all about the Soviet Union the other day, which might be like a 5 or 10 minute explanation. So I'll definitely go into that. But yeah, I'll let you know how I get on. Oh, before I forget, I got 2 new knives from Blades and Bows recently. This one's quite good. It's a lock knife because I didn't have a good lock knife. I did have a good Gerber one, but it was only 3 inches and I've lost it. I don't know where it is. I put it in a drawer somewhere, I think. But it's an Enlan, and there's lots and lots of good reviews for these. And this is one of those sort of, I think, Chinese companies that has really good quality control. So you're spending like, you know, a quarter or half the price on a good knife rather than, you know, something like this I think was around 15 to 20 quid. I can't remember the exact price because I bought a Vaganzo multi-tool from Blades and Bows and you have to pay VAT and postage. But very good service from them, because I got this the very next day after ordering, which surprised me. I thought it'd be, you know, 2 days like most next day services are. But no, they got it. They dispatched it the day I ordered it, got it the next day. So yeah, I assume this is stainless steel. I didn't actually check if it was stainless or carbon, but it's I think it's a 9cm blade, so that's, you know, probably 4 or 5 inches. I haven't measured it actually myself. Good lock on it, you know, the standard kind of lock, but fairly chunky. Nice sort of wooden handle, feels nice, got a good pocket clip. But I wanted this just so when I'm at home and not going out, because I normally EDC a Swiss Army knife or something which has a legal non-locking blade, but I wanted something that I could just clip in my pocket, because it's got one of these clips on it, you know, and just have that in my pocket, so if ever I need a knife and I'm around the house I don't need to go looking for one, you know, just as more of a convenience thing. And because I can have a lock knife with a sturdy blade, it means it can do the job properly, rather than, you know, what sometimes happens where you find a knife, it's a bit blunt, then you go and look for a sharper knife you got. So there we go. So yeah, I'm going to detox myself from the news and I'll let you know how I get on.